Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, you're going to be playing both rhythm and lead by yourself, kind of having your own little jam session by yourself. I'm going to show you how to play this original composition. It's a blues composition that's got a little bit of a ragtime feel to it, but this works great on its own. You don't need any accompaniment, no jam tracks or any of that. Just grab a guitar and a pick, and this works on an acoustic or electric guitar. So we're going to break everything down note for note. I'll show you how to play everything and where all those notes come from over the course of 2 videos. So in this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and get the tablature for this lesson, you can get that by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP277. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and break down everything note for note, explain where all these notes come from so that you can play this composition, but I want you to be thinking about how you might write your own composition like this. You can do this. You don't have to have a big background in music theory or anything complicated. These are just some basic chords that I'm looping through, and then I'm playing some fill licks in between those chords. So I'm just taking some basic scales, minor pentatonic scale, major pentatonic scale, and then working those in between the dead spaces in the chords. So it's really not that complicated. We're going to be staying, for the most part, we're going to just be staying in the key of the song. The song is in the key of E, and so I'm not going to be trying to change the scale to match all these chords, at least in this first part. That would just be too complicated. In the second half, I do change the scale to match the chord in a few spots, in 2 spots. But for the rest of the entire thing, I'm just staying in the key of the song. So let's talk about the chords. So we're starting off with 4 chords. We have an E chord, and then I play a C9 chord. Let me show you how to play this chord. It's very easy to play. Bar the first 3 strings. You may want to use your ring finger for this. First 3 strings on the 4th fret. Index finger goes down on the 3rd fret, 4th string, and then your middle finger is on the 4th fret, 5th string. That's a C9 chord. Now I make it like this because I find it easier to go back and forth between this chord and a C7 chord. I may want to use one or the other, so as long as my hand is in this position, I can grab either one. You can play it however you want with whatever fingers you want, but that's the second chord, a C9 chord. And by the way, the numbers for this, you'd have a 1 chord, you'd have a major 6 chord. So I know that may be confusing. A 6 chord is usually a minor chord, but in this case, it would be a major 6 chord. So 1 major 6. Your 3rd chord is your 2 chord, so that's a minor chord. It's just an F sharp minor. I'm barring the 2nd fret here, and then these 2 fingers are making the E minor chord shape out of the cage system. So you have your 2 chord, and then your 5 chord is a B7 chord. And so I'm just playing B7, but I've got my pinky added as well, which is on the 2nd fret, 1st string, so that I have that note ringing out. And those are the first 4 chords. So it's 1, major 6, 2, 5, if you're writing down the numbers for that. Now once you get the chords down, you're going to have to understand the cadence for how you play those chords. And you may want to write this down, but this is what I've come up with as the easiest way to describe it. It'll make sense as I explain it, but it's bass, chord, mute. And that's the formula for this. Bass chord, mute, bass chord, mute, bass chord, mute, bass chord, mute. And when I say bass, I'm talking about the low note in the chord, the bass note. Bass, brush the chord, and then a muted strum. And the bass note happens on the and of 2 and the and of 4 every time. So you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you can see that it's right there on that 2, the and of 2 and the and of 4. Okay, so let's play through that now that you kind of understand the chords and then the cadence for those chords. The first time, you just play it right on the 1s. The first chord, that E chord, it doesn't really follow into that, but after that, it does go through that loop. So you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And just keep that going until you're comfortable with that. It's actually a really nice exercise just to be able to do that. Now you don't have to try and play this at the same tempo I'm playing it at. That's the beauty of playing a standalone composition like this. You can set this at whatever tempo you want. So take a metronome if that's helpful and slow it down to something that's comfortable. This sounds great if you play it slowly. Either way, whether you play it fast or slow, it's going to sound good. Okay, so now that we have the structure of this there's enough dead space, I don't know what else to call that, but just, yeah, dead space in between those chords to allow you to play some fill licks, and that's what creates the melody. So let me show you where that first part of the melody comes in. Right there, just 3 notes. Now all I'm doing, I'm playing these all in the first string, and I'm using my pinky for this, which is probably not proper, but since my pinky was in that B7 chord, that 2nd fret 1st string, it was just easy for me to keep that finger down and use that. So it's the 2nd fret, 4th fret, and then the 7th fret. And if you're asking where are these notes coming from, what scale is that? That's the E major pentatonic scale. And I'm playing up here, I came up to pattern 4. So I could visualize pattern 4 on the neck. E major pentatonic scale, pattern 4. And that's what these 2 notes are. They're just touching on that top part, I guess, of pattern 4. Now once you hit that note, that 7th fret 1st string, while that's ringing out, you're going to hit that bass note, the 6th string, the open 6th string, or the open E string. And while that's ringing out, that gives you enough time to take your hand off the fretboard and come down and play the chord part of that bass chord strum thing that I explained. So you got... And then once you do that, you're back in the loop. Alright, so backing up, we have... So you can already start to hear that melody coming out with 3 notes, as simple as that is. So keep that in mind as well when you're coming up with a melody. It doesn't have to be fast. You don't have to play all over a scale or anything. Just 3 notes can hint at a direction. And that's really what you're trying to do when you're playing lead, is you're trying to emulate the human voice. And that's what a vocalist might, if you were singing this from a phrasing, that's the kind of thing somebody might sing. So that's why we do things like vibrato. We're trying to simulate what the voice sounds like. Okay, so you can see that the song loops there. Now the second time through, I threw in a different lick, different fill lick. And so you're starting to see how this works, is at the end of those 4 chords, I just add a little fill lick into that space, and then we just keep it going. And that's the cadence of this. So this time, what I'm doing is I'm starting on the 2nd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string, or I'm sorry, 3rd fret, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But when we come to the 4th, I'm going to bar the first 4 strings with my ring finger and play strings 4, 3, and 2. And what that is that's really the B, that's where the B7 chord would be. But I don't have a way to kind of come down here and play it like this because I'm trying to hit this note. I guess I could do something like that. But that's too awkward for my hand. And I find this easier. So all this is the B chord using the A chord shape. And I just took this little triad out of that chord. And that's another takeaway. You don't have to play the same chords in the same places that you started with. So in other words, if I wanted to play an E chord up here instead, I could play it up here and play a lead part higher on the neck. So that's how you can work in, if you want to play leads in different spots, higher notes or whatever, you can play different chord voicings. So that's really what this is. It's just a different voicing, but it's the same B chord. So we walk up to it, and then we walk back down. 3, 2, upstroke with the right hand on the open 2nd string. Now while that note is ringing out, it gives me a chance to take my hand off and come back and play the E chord, or the bass note of the E chord. And now we can loop. Okay, let's back it up from the beginning. This is nice. Now the 3rd time through, I play this. So again, it's the lead part is happening in that same place, sort of at the end of those 4 chords. But this time, I was able to play the B7 chord. But remember, when I played it the first time, I had my pinky here on the 2nd fret. I'm just going to slide it up to the 3rd fret 1st string. So the rest of these fingers stay in place for the B7 chord. That's the chord sound. Now that sounds kind of bad on its own, but it does sound good in context. So it's, then your pinky slides up to the 4th fret 1st string, open 1st string, 2nd fret 2nd string, and then an upstroke on the open 1 string. And I keep trying to come back to that 1 string because it's open and allows me to take my hand off the fretboard and go back to that E chord. So I'm kind of thinking ahead as I'm playing a melody. How can I work in that open string? You don't have to, but it makes it easier. And the last time through, I went. I love that. Let's learn how to play that lick. And all this is really just playing the major and the minor pentatonic scale kind of blended together in this one spot here for the key of E. You're hearing some bluesy sounding notes and some major sounding notes, and it's that combination of like sweet and sour that sounds so good. So it starts by a slide from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret on the 1st string, and then the open 1 string with an upstroke with the right hand. There's the open 2 string. So you have, and then your middle finger goes down on the 2nd fret 3rd string, and you play strings 3, 2, and 3 like this. 3, 2, 3. So you, backing up, we have, and then I played, and this is just building that E chord. So I start with the open 3rd string, hammer on to the 1st fret 3rd string, and then middle finger goes down on the 2nd fret 4th string. So backing up, we have, and what gives it that feel is this triplet thing. And when you look in the tablature, you'll see a little bar with a number 3 over that, and that's what that means. It's a triplet. So it's triplet, triplet, triplet. Hard to say and play that. Now after you play that, you're going to come down and hit the E string again, your bass note from your E note, E chord. Alright, so I'm going to back up now and play through this. I'm going to loop through these chords and play these 4 different melody lines, or these fill licks that happen at the end of the chord. So listen for those. So here we go from the beginning. There's the first one. Second. There's your third. There's the fourth. All right, now after that, then I'm going to play, because now we're going into another part. We're getting out of these 4 chords and going into the second part. Let me show you that. So after we play the E chord, I'm going to play an A chord. I'm just putting all 3 fingers in there on the 2nd fret, strings 2, 3, and 4, so that this high E string can ring out. That's why I'm doing it that way. And then I played this chord. That's just an A minor chord, but then add your pinky to the 2nd fret 1st string. That turns it into an A minor 6 chord. It's a really cool sounding chord, especially when you play it with right after that A chord. And then you come to the E chord. And that's just a common technique when you're on your 4 chord to play the 4 and then a minor version of the 4 and then back to the 1. The Beatles probably made that the most famous. That's what I always think of when I hear that chord progression. Now once we come to the E, I played. This is a nice little walk down. It's easy to play. Remember this and use this going forward as a nice little filler. And all I'm doing is I'm thinking about an E7 chord, which would be kind of a nice little transition chord. So that's where we're going to land. But we start up here. So I'm just playing the 2nd and the 1st string together, but it starts on the 5th fret 2nd string. But make sure you let that open 1 string ring out with it. 4th fret down to the 3rd fret, but always hitting the 1 string. And then That's going to get us into the second part, this little, like a bass fillet. So it's the open 6th string. We're going to slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the 6th string. I use my ring finger for that. And then the open 5th string. Now while that note is ringing out, I'm going to play the A chord, and then I'm going to play this A sharp diminished 7 chord. And to do that, from your A chord, you take your middle finger and your index finger off, keep your ring finger down, but your middle finger goes down now on the 2nd fret 4th string, and your index finger goes down on the 1st fret 5th string. Isn't that a cool chord? So always remember that if you're playing your A chord and you want to go into that A sharp diminished chord, that's an easy transition to get from one to the other. So now once I played this, I also added my pinky. I should have mentioned this. I add my pinky up here to the 3rd fret 1st string because this is part of the melody. And then you walk it down to the 2nd fret, and then you play the open 1st string. So you have, and now I'm going to play the 2nd string, which is behind this chord here. So I keep the chord down the whole time. And then take your ring finger off and let the open 2nd string, or that B string, ring out. So you have, and then we're going to go back to your E chord while that note is ringing out. So let's take it from. And once you come to that E, I put my pinky down on the 2nd fret 2nd string and makes it an E6 chord. Just in that one spot. So I think we're going to end the part 1 video here. This is a good stopping point. There's a lot of information that's already been covered. In the second half, we'll get into the whole the other part where we do change the key, the scale to match the key, and in just a few spots there. But if you want to learn that second half and get the tablature for this so that you can print it off and practice that way, make sure you check out Premium Membership. Alright, let me back up now and play through everything that we've learned in this part 1 video. I'll play through it slowly, and then I'll see you in part 2. So here we go.